This is the Artpack Silk Party Kit, and we're going to show you how to make them today. So in your kit, you'll receive a twilly, which is the long skinny scarf. You'll also receive a longer silk scarf and 3 silk dies in the colourway of your choice. Now to get started, you're going to want to pop on your rubber gloves to avoid getting the dye on your hands. And then firstly, we're going to take you through making the longer scarf today. So these scarves are already finished. They've got a beautiful luster to them, and they have a hand rolled hem on the edge there. So they're ready to wear as soon as they've been dyed. So the first step is to pop a cup of water into a bowl and then add 1/4 cup of vinegar to the mix. Give it a little stir, and then pop your silk scarf in there and make sure that it's quite wet. Move it around a little bit, squish it through. And then take a piece of Glad wrap that's longer than your scarf and place it down on your work surface. You might also want to pop some cardboard or something underneath to protect your bench from any dye also. Then wring out the scarf, and then what we're going to do is just place it onto this Glad wrap. Try to open it up to start with. You want it sort of flattened out so that the edges are visible and that there's no twists or turns in it. But then you are actually going to sort of scrunch it up onto the plastic wrap like this. So you're going to keep working the scarf with lots of scrunching, sort of trying to get it somewhat even across the whole layer of the scarf. The peaks and troughs are what create the pattern with the dye. So you want it to be similar across the scarf, but still with areas of interest. So it will take a little bit of time, just be patient, keep scrunching and flattening until you have a fairly even scrunched effect. Once you're happy with how your pinched scarf looks, it's time to dye. So each pack of curated silk dyes will come with a lighter colour, a mid-tone and a stronger, darker colour. We suggest starting with the lighter colour first, and all you're going to be doing is dropping droppers of colour across the surface of the scarf, some in the peaks, some in the trough, just trying to keep an even spread of colour across the scarf, if that's what you would like. Of course, it's totally up to you. Then going in with the mid-tone colour, trying to pop it onto some of those areas of white. It is nice sometimes to leave some areas of blank scarf because that will actually mean you get some higher contrast between the colours and the white of the scarf. But again, that's completely up to the artist's discretion. And finally, the darker colour, popping that around in the little areas. Try to make sure that you've got the corners of the scarf, a little tip that just helps the scarf look a little bit more finished when the tips of the scarf are dyed. And then try and make sure that you don't take over too much of the lighter colour. You still want some of that contrast coming through. You can always go back in with the colours again if you see areas that you would like to add a little bit more of one of the other colours on. You can certainly go back in. And then another tip is just to check the bottom of the scarf to make sure that the dyes have penetrated all the way through to the bottom. So just fold the plastic wrap over lightly and very carefully and gently lift the bottom of the scarf up just so that you can have a look to see whether there's any large areas of white unpainted scarf at the bottom. If there is, just pop it back onto the front and add more dye to the top in those little areas that you've noticed at the bottom, and the dye will soak down into the bottom of the scarf and you'll lose those big white patches. Then you're going to fold the glad wrap over to completely encase the scarf within the glad wrap. Gently fold it in half and then place it in a plastic bag or two, folding it over to make sure that all of the steam stays within the plastic bag. And then we're going to put it in the microwave for 1 minute. When you pull it out of the microwave, the bag will be extremely hot and full of steam. So be very careful when you're unwrapping it, particularly the glad wrap, as you might burn yourself with the steam if you're not careful. Once you pull it out, you'll see it's all dried and you just need to pop it back into that bowl with the vinegar water and give it a good rinse. You'll see there's no dye coming out because the steam has actually fixed the dyes into the scarf. So just a quick rinse in there, wring it out, and then use an old towel just to wring the excess water out of the scarf. Then take it to be ironed and your scarf is ready to wear. You can see here where the colours have really melded together, but also where you're still seeing some of that white show through that we've left undyed, which allow the colours to really pop.